everybody, and welcome to Transformers 84 to 24, 40 years of rolling out with me, Primetime Moff, and the ever awesome Optimus Prime. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, all good, all good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Really looking forward to this one, 1986. And as we've alluded to before, we are splitting out 86 and the movie, mainly because we really like to talk about the movie and easily we can talk through the movie in one episode. And it gives a chance to give both aspects of the toy line they're due, because there's certainly toys that come out in 86 that don't appear in the movie. And we want to give them their chance to shine as well. Now, before we begin, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. I clearly, getting old in my years, made a total mistake last year. We were chatting through the toys and talking about the toys I got that year, and I didn't get Metroplex in 1985 because it didn't come out in 1985. He came out in 1986. So I will apologise now because I will talk about him again in this episode, but that's never a bad thing because he's a special bot. The other one that was quite an interesting one, we were chatting through about rub signs, and you talked about the aspect of them that they not advertise as a proof of authenticity. And actually, in the preparation for this week, I grabbed my original catalogues, and actually on the catalogue, and I said that I knew I could visualize it having something on a catalogue, and it comes on there, and this is the 1985 one. Actually, it says, find the black square on your Transformer, rub with your finger for about 10 seconds, and watch the robot face appear. This is proof that your robot is a true Transformer. And then confirms that only the real Transformers have these badges. And interestingly, I don't think the American catalogues had that. It was only our UK ones, which the one bit we haven't talked about the catalogues, and let's kick off with that, is that on our catalogues, we got some stunning artwork on the back of them. So, for example, this is the 1986 one, which has a beautiful battle scene. I'm going to show you the 1985 one because we never talked about it last week, but actually this one probably is more famous for you. We talked about the episodes. This one is the one that was a cover from Arrival from Cybertron, and that artwork, is so ingrained in my brain as being a big part of the Transformers, and what my memory of 1986 is. So let's move into 1986. Let's chat a bit
just
about
a quick thing on rub signs.
Go on then.
I was just rubbing this this warpath, and apparently he's a maximal.
Well, what is he? What is his color scheme based on? He's not based on the warpath.
I am
not even going to try and guess. I'm going to.
I'm sure somebody who was paying more attention to TFN. Yeah,
I'm going to guess he's going to be based on a Beast Wars, maybe a Rat Trap, maybe.
I honestly look. I didn't even know I'd won it. They brought it around as we were closing up on the last day of TFN. They're like, "Oh, you won this!" It's like, "Oh, yay!"
So let's delve into 1986 then. Well, as I say, we're going to try and stay away from the movie, although it's hard to do in this year. But let's remove ourselves from the movie. We will talk about the cartoon, and obviously the cartoon follows on from the movie. So there are aspects of the cartoon that we can't ignore the movie entirely. What's your memories of the cartoon of this year? What's your thoughts on it?
Now I'm going to be a little bit possibly controversial. I don't remember the season 3. I don't think I saw season 3 until like recently, like in the last sort of 10 years. I never got as far as season 3 whenever I was rewatching. I'd always watch season 1 and 2. So season 3, I know enough of it. Return of Optimus Prime, I remember obviously very well. Five Faces of Darkness again, and Grimlock's New Brain always stuck in my mind as a fun little episode. Yeah. And then of course we do have the I don't know how to say it, but this Carnage in C minor, which long before everybody got upset about people having a singing planet in the Marvels, Transformers did it, and boy, was that an episode.
It was an episode. And I think it's interesting. I think 86 has some of the worst episodes,
Oh
but
yes.
some of the best, and some of the best animated, which is ironic because, again, some of the absolute worst. But it also has some stories that stick in my brain so much. Dark Awakening, like a great episode for being just a bit creepy. Starscream's Ghost. There's so many of them. Five Faces of Darkness I didn't see till years later. I think I only saw a couple on a VHS. I definitely had a VHS with Big Broadcast of 2006. Don't know what else was on it. I can't remember. Fight or Flee, maybe. Grimlock's New Brain always makes me smile. I don't know. It's maybe not the best episode, but there's something fun about it. I also like Call the Primitives because I like the Dinobots. I like the animal stuff. Predator King was probably the introduced character in this season that I was most, oh, that looks awesome. And Predator King to this day is still one of my favourite characters from that. But it's certainly an interesting mix of episodes. Return of Optimus Prime. Let's focus on that for a minute. That has the feel of being like a movie 1.5. It's not a full sequel because it's only 2 episodes. But obviously, it's playing some of the music. It's still trying to get the same. It's trying to get the same feel to it. And it, we'll talk about the death of Optimus in the movie episode, but it was such a pivotal moment for the franchise, and shows you how
Yeah.
important he is as a character that he's brought back to life as a kind of zombie earlier, and then he returns in this, and yet they don't at any point feel as if there's a need to bring back Megatron. Megatron,
Yeah.
they're okay with it just evolving into into Galvatron. They obviously bring Starscream back to an extent. Starscream is still, he's probably top three Decepticon characters. For me, I think Megatron, Soundwave, and Starscream are three most important of G1. So I think that was clear they were bringing him back. But Optimus is, how do you remove Optimus? He was such a huge bit, and he's still such a huge bit of the franchise. So that obviously had a massive impact on the end of this season. Yeah, it's a mixed bag. I think it's the weakest of the three. I think I said last week that 85, I think, is the best because of probably quantity more than anything else as well. Actually, to be fair, 81 has got 81, 84 has got less crap episodes and more bangers. This one is a much bigger mix of them, and the moving onto Cybertron, moving away from Earth, try to take that grounding. And we've seen in the franchise struggle with that throughout history of not having the grounding of Earth. How do people relate to it quite as much? Do you think that's an influence on the challenges this season and latter franchise have struggled with?
Yeah, I think so. It's it's difficult. I mean, this season tonally and in terms of quality, it's all over the shop. It's a lot of it is a continuation and a reaction to the movie, but at the same time, it it isn't like the movie in any way, shape, or form. You've got some episodes, but and obviously the characters carry over, but the movie is such a completely different beast that the cartoon just doesn't seem to follow it on at all in terms of that sort of quality and that sort of level of storytelling and tone. I mean, there are standards for ages. Dark Awakenings is one of my favorite episodes because Prime came back, and I remember the Return of Optimus Prime. I don't know when it came out over here. I remember the VHS
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
had the battle art from the following year because
Yeah.
it had Power Master Optimus Prime on the cover.
Yeah.
So I assumed that this episode was
So
going to
did
be
I.
Power Master
So
Optimus
did
Prime,
I.
who
So
was
did
my
I.
favorite Optimus Prime. And yeah, no, it wasn't. But again, I didn't see that until after Headmasters. So quite a few years later. But yeah,
I think I had that VHS, and that artwork is probably why I would argue that I think Power Master Prime's my favorite of the him in G1, just because he just looks. That's like him boosted up, ready to go. And actually, if you look at the Prime Time toys, the second flyer, it was heavily influenced by Petey having that kind of powering up the Power Master. Okay, we kind of leaned a wee bit more probably onto um the Titan's Return version of it. But I do that idea of him just being that bit beefier, that bit more powerful, really resonated, but always confused me why that's not in the cartoon. Another bit confused me with the cartoon was how Dark Awakening ends and how his body's gone. Like Dark Awakening, his body is gone. How's he then okay? And also, even forget that before we even get to that, how's he red in Dark Awakening, and yet he's black in the movie? Not in a racist way. That sounded worse than it intended to be. But he's faded. He's lost all his color in the film. You know, trying to show that he has lost his essence. But yet then they find his body and he has his color back. Does that mean he was never really dead? You know, and listen. I also know it's only a cartoon for children. There is no way the writer of Dark Awakening was thinking, now a child's going to question this, because I didn't as a child. My children don't question it. It's just with adult eyes, you ask these questions that are crazy questions to ask, but still with just a bit of a, it doesn't really matter. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge of the season, that it doesn't really flow. It's not going
yeah.
opening season to an end like a TV show does. Yeah.
I think a lot of, if you I was just looking at the release dates. So the movie came out in August 86, and the first episodes of the show started airing in September 86. So there was a big crossover in terms of production of the episodes to what was going on with the movie. So obviously this would have been prepped and whatnot a year or so ahead of time. I have got the dates and stuff, but I'm not going to look at them right now. But it means that the reaction to the movie couldn't be addressed immediately. So they would have had Dark Awakening as an episode right at the start, and then Return of Optimus Prime might not have been something necessarily on the cards until they went, hang on.
No, I don't know, because if you remember, and we'll talk about this in the movie, but it feels right to talk about now because of what you said there. The UK got the film at the end saying, you know, an Optimus Prime will return. So I think they knew it was coming back. That was obviously added on as let's make sure little kids don't cry too heavily.
Okay, I did just look it up, and on the TF Wiki 1986 page, the script for Return of Optimus Prime was submitted in November 86.
Oh.
So it it appears that would be a confirmed course correction, which I'm sure everybody would have guessed anyway. But yeah, I mean, as we say, tonally, it's all over the shop, possibly more than any other season. It adds a whole load of lore that borrows from the movie, but also expands upon some of the lore from the movie, whilst at the same time contradicting the lore from the movie. So it was, an odd time. But anyway.
Yeah. One thing I want to touch on, and I haven't really touched on, is the comics. Now, we haven't touched on the comics because I think there's so much in them that I think there's something we'll do in the future where we'll go into more detail in the comics and maybe retrospectively look through them. But there's some pivotal points, and I've picked a T-shirt today, so I don't know how much you can see, but I've picked my favourite. This is genuinely my favourite Transformers T-shirt. It is worn to the point where I'm scared to wear it anywhere now, because it is. I'm confident at some point it's just going to collapse, and it's a Megatron with Cobra Commander. I love the idea of the Transformers and G.I. Joes becoming a shared universe, and in the US, this is the year that they first really touch on that with the G.I. Joe and Transformers comic coming out. Again, we're not going to go into massive detail of the comics, but I think there's pivotal moments that we have to kind of touch on. And that for me was a big bit, and it's one that excites me even now. You know, at the end of last year's film where they did that, I thought, oh, a shared universe. I like that. I like that concept of it because I loved the G.I. Joe characters, you know. And this season we also have Old Snake appear, which is clearly meant to be Cobra Commander, and upsets. And the tease of it, even to this day, when I think of it, I think, go, why didn't you just continue it? Why didn't you just do something with it? You know, Chris Latta, probably why Starscream's one of my favourite cartoon characters. Same as why as Cobra Commander is, why is Kravix in Visionaries. Chris Latta is probably my favourite voice actor of that generation for delivering such a powerful, impactful performance to characters that have continually stuck with me from then on in. You know, and that's not taken away from your Frank Welkers or your Optimus Primes. I just thought Chris Latta's performance as Starscream, as Cobra Commander, just absolutely exceptional. So that there certainly was moments that stand out in this year. Whilst there might be some challenging bits, there's certainly some moments that really stand out this year. What's you any thoughts on the comics? I know, as I say, we're not going to go into massive detail of them because I think there's a 40-50 minute episode of each year's worth of comics just to do at some point.
100%. I think with comics, I think we'll do like a couple of specials and do like the first few years and stuff like that. Maybe get some people who are more au fait with the comics.
People like Bob Budiansky and Simon Furman. These kind of people. Yeah, maybe we'll have some interviews with them at some point we can put up.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I think I'm trying to my biggest memories of having the comic are around the time of Headmasters and Pretenders and stuff like that, which is obviously a much later on, but I distinctly remember having piles of those comics and reading them.
I was actually the same.
Wet break at school and stuff like that. Those are the ones I really remember. So prior to that, it's mostly what was in the annuals that will stick in my mind. I can't remember when I actually started getting the comic on a weekly basis, like a proper subscription to it, rather than picking up the odd one here or there. But obviously I've gone back and read the majority of it since, but I couldn't tell you what was 86, 85, 87.
No, that was me. I didn't actually have. I never had it as a weekly subscription. I only ever had it as handful of episodes. And one of the first things I did on the internet was when the internet got around to decent enough quality, was find copies of that to go and read. And I bought the Titans books. Was that the first company that did the graphic novels of the UK stuff? And grabbed as much as I could. Before we move off the animation, I want to touch on one bit that I never saw until years later, and most of us in Western world didn't. Scramble City. Have you seen Scramble City?
I have, but I didn't see it until probably in the last 10 years. Well, YouTube. When YouTube first became a thing, it was one of the things I found.
And it's an interesting. I think this is the first point where we start to see the Japanese market get a different version to us. I know they didn't get the movie until I think maybe a year or two after us. And then, for example, like they obviously in the next year we're going to get into 1987. They really tail off into different things. So it's just an interesting bit that we see this start to take place in this year with Scramble City. But and YouTube's great for that. You can go and get access to this stuff that I remember sitting for hours trying to find a copy of it after I found out about it. Got some really bad quality version of it and downloaded it, and it was not enjoyable to watch because of that. And it was like you, in the era of YouTube, I managed to go back and watch a much better quality of it and enjoy it for what it is. You touched on something there that is the one of my most prized possessions and one of my most ingrained memories and visualizations when I think of Transformers as a child, and that's the Transformers annual. So I have my own personal annual that has a very, very, very poorly scribbled my name written in the inside of it. But this is beaten because I just read and read and read. And I talked last week about how I loved the Ladybird books for the breakdown of the characters.
Mm.
And I loved this because, again, it had the very similar, broke down the characters, gave you a little bit more information on who's who. Absolutely fantastic. But the bit that potentially by the end of this year will be tattooed on my arm, the story victory in this with the Dinobots is my favourite piece of artwork, favourite piece of media from Transformers. I've got it signed by Simon Furn and Greg Berger. I stupidly didn't take it to the first TF UK Con to get it signed by Jeff Senior, and I hope to rectify that at some point in the future. But this story is just so, the visualization, like it felt like this is not the kiddie friendly Transformers that I'm used to, and I think that's the first
Yeah.
point I started to go, oh, these are awesome. So that a huge bit of the importance of 1986 for me was that kind of the annuals, and I think I had the first three annuals, and then the rest of them I picked up later in life. But yeah, the annuals were something special for me, and that one certainly, as I say, was very, very pivotal for me. Let's talk about toys. So toys, we've got lots of toys, and again, we're going to try and stay away from the movie ones. Some
Yes.
absolute classics in this. I don't know if you know, but I got a Metroplex
Oh,
in
did you?
1986. Yeah. So I'm not going to go into massive detail. Netflix clearly was my 1986 Christmas toy. I don't know what my 1985 one was. I know I got another toy. I think that where I get confused was because I generally only got kind of one big Transformer, and I got another one. I got something from the movie, which we'll talk about in the movie episode. So I think that's why I was a bit confused last week when we were chatting through it. But when we look at the 1986 non-movie ones, there's some absolute crackers in there. Like, really think about some of the stuff that we saw come out this year. You know, when I look at the catalogue, the one thing that always stuck to me was we got the kind of repaints of the mini bots. We talked about the mini bots before. Mini bots were ones that I had a lot of. So we got what did we get? Swerve, Outback, Tailgate. So other repaints.
Yeah.
Hubcap. Is that us? We get another.
Yeah, got Hubcap.
Pipes. No, Pipes. Was Pipes 1985.
Yeah, so I've got the
Huffer, wasn't
got
it?
the
I'm going to look at my previous catalog. Yeah, Pipes obviously from Huffer.
pipes.
So you get
Yeah.
Pipes, Hubcap, Swerve, Outback, and Tailgate as repaints.
Really?
Previous ones.
Really?
Really? I don't think he's a repaint. It's just a wee.
No. Just
I, I know it's got. I know we'll talk about it in the movie, but I love my wheelie toy. Like I really did. Like absolutely. As I say, I had when I look at that lineup of mini bots, I had most of them. I didn't have I never had Brawn out of all the mini bots. I never had Brawn, Huffer, or Cliff Jumper as a kid. But when I look at the ones from this year, I had them all. I had every one of them at some point or other. Some of them were from trades, but yeah, absolutely loved the mini bots. Absolutely, I look at catalog and I even go back to kind of almost going right. What do I want to pick up this year? You know, we talked last week about the Dinobots coming in and the subgroups and the catalogs having that split out. You know, having them feeling like we pictures of here's the minis, here's the Autobot leader, here's the Protetobots, here's the different bits. You know, the Battlechargers. They were ones I really wanted. Like I remember looking at them and the colours of them. It's like, oh, something that I never got them till I was much older. But some absolute classics in there, like some stellar ones. What's your thoughts on the toys of that year?
Runabout and Runamuck. They
Runabout.
were I had Runabout, and my best mate had Runamuck, and we loved. I don't know exactly how quickly we broke their mechanism, but I seem to remember them not. I mean, they lasted well enough, but we did pull those boys until they broke. which possibly wasn't the best way to phrase that.
The only ones I've ever had, both the mechanisms that work in them. You know, I got them in a junk lot early eBay
Yeah,
days. And there's toys that I would probably like to pick up. You know, one we never talked about last
yeah,
week, the gimmick way was the jump starters. Like these kind of
yeah.
bits of gimmicks, and we have that. Then in 87 has kind of ones like that as well. I think some of these wee gimmicky bits, and I wonder what was. Am I wrong? Was Blaster the first Hasbro toy? Something in my brain says Blaster was the first Hasbro designed toy, or either Blaster or
Hmm.
one of his cassettes. I could be entirely wrong, and we'll use that as a housekeeping for next week. We'll do a wee bit of kind of research, but I'm sure I remember that. For me, the triple changers, like you know, we talked about Astro Train last week. I had Astro Train and Blitzwing from a friend when I was young. I've never experienced Octane, never experienced Broadside. Neither have ever appealed to me, if I'm honest. I personally had Sandstorm and Springer,
Hmm.
and both are absolute classics. I know not everybody feels they're great in all three modes, but I actually think both of them are brilliant. I just enjoy both the toys. Um, but yeah, some
I don't want to say that TF Wiki is wrong, but
yeah,
I was, I was saying about Astro Train last time in the 85 line. He did come out in Europe in the 85 line,
yep.
but he is missing from the UK listing,
Ah,
both
well,
Astro Train and Blitzwing. But he
don't,
then
I
doesn't
don't we
appear
don't worry about
in.
the 85 with whether it's
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
different ones.
So
What about?
I think
Sorry, you think?
I was gonna say I think they might have been 85. I remember having both of them,
I
either
think
85 or 86,
you've got to
early on.
remember that some of this is going to be slightly
Oh,
wrong.
it's
It'll be
definitely
like
going to blur.
85,
Yeah,
86.
yeah, yeah,
Like you said there about the script for Return of Optimus Prime was November
mm,
of
yeah,
86. There's a fair chance that was actually as an 87 episode, but I think you're
yeah.
right to kind of, I think segment to me it's the seasons and this is the year of these different bits.
Oh,
The
100%. Yeah, yeah.
the bit that I'm glad I never got an Astro Train when I was younger because I'd have been really confused with the different colours of Astro Trains when you look at the toy, what we get in the toy, what's in the 86 catalogue and what's in the 85 catalogue having slightly different colours on them. That would have confused me, like those people who were confused and bought a Blue Frenzy. I don't know why they buy a Blue Frenzy. Frenzy's red. But even at that,
um,
like in the toy, the catalog that I have that's the 86 one doesn't have a Ratbat, and I know technically he makes his first appearance in the movie. I don't really count Ratbat as a movie toy. That's a 86 non-movie toy in my head.
yeah.
When I think of the toys from this year, um, those those new mini bots are probably the bits that I loved. The playability then, as I said last week, and this my mistake, but with the Metroplex, you know, I look at some of the ones that we got from the combiners. So I had Blades, First Aid, and I think it was Firefight. I can't remember because I don't still have them, so I can't even go and let go. But I had one single Aerialbot, and but I also then eventually got Skydive. So I had either one at the beginning, but eventually I had both of them. I can't remember which first one I got was. But just the playability of going through them. I would love to have experienced a full on combiner as a kid. I think that would have been an
Oh,
incredible
yeah.
experience. Um,
I don't think it was this Christmas. It might have been this Christmas. It might have been the following Christmas. But my neighbours got the box set for the Stunticons and the Aerialbots,
Amazing,
and they had
amazing.
both lots. That was just unfair.
Oh,
The
we never even talked about
only,
that last week about the Devastator coming in last week. This will
yeah,
be the challenge through this entire line, and it gets busier. You know, when we think of the years where there's three different toy lines, it's going to be a challenge to try and stick to these. So apologies, audience, for if we miss something off that's your favourite, we miss something that you think, oh, that's so important for me for that year. But there's only
yeah.
so much time we can do.
Please don't take any of this as definitive. This is basically two people rambling. Um, uh, but I'm gonna skip over onto Toy of the Year
Go for it.
because There's no Optimus Prime again. Still the same Optimus Prime. I could talk about variations of Optimus Primes, but I'm not going to because it's boring. So Optimus Prime is Optimus Prime. Fine. My toy of the year will be Air Raid because it's the only aerial bot I had. He was a black, awesome looking
Oh, even now, I want that toy.
F-15.
That
Yeah,
looks
just
gorgeous.
Air Raid is.
Yes.
And when he got redone in Combiner Wars, he was the one that was difficult to get hold of. Yeah, I absolutely love him. I do not have a version of him to show. I'll put a picture up. Look, picture. But yeah, he was for me ticked all the boxes. Fighter jet, black, awesome.
That would be if I was to want to pick up one more of the Aerialbots, he would have been my pick. It just looks beautiful. So mine, no surprise, as I talked about it last week, is Metroplex. Like it is
I'm
just
shocked.
an absolute stunning toy. You know, all the options of six gun, scamper, just every aspect of it. What an absolute fantastic toy. But in a year that I think even if we did include movie toys, I would probably still say he's my favorite of the year, and that's with some outstanding movie bots that I look forward to discussing in more detail. So we're going to do the movie next because just keep the momentum going, so we continue with the kind of the years and where we're at. So we'll have a movie year, and then we'll jump back on to 1987. But an absolute fantastic year. Really enjoyed going back through reflecting on this year, the toys, a bit of the comics. I say the annual's certainly the one that sticks out for me as being one of my biggest memories from this year.
Yeah.
Want to just quickly point you to, if you've not already checked out the additional content we're providing. So we're providing small episodes and Talking Robots Tuesday, where I will talk about what is the toy you've not experienced that you'd like to experience. Simon and I will both do a kind of retro review, looking back at a toy from that era. And then we'll have Simon do it, hopefully, when we get more than just one Optimus Prime. There'll be some content that we can do on Optimus Primes. There'll be points where there is multiple Optimus Primes in a year.
Yeah.
Other else, you would not have this vast array behind you. But for now, that's not very much to
Very
do, is
bad
there?
during the movies. No. It's when we get to Bayverse, it's going to be a nightmare.
Full 3 hour episode just for that. But thank you all for joining us. I look forward to speaking to you and talking to you next week.